Hey there, good evening, everybody. Rachel Bogle here at the WMBF First Alert Desk. We have several stories to get into here, as always, though I do have my Facebook stream up. I can see a couple folks joining right now. If you are tuning in, feel free to just get in the comments, say hello, let me know where you're watching from. If you have any questions about any of the stories I'm about to go through, feel free to ask down there, and I will just keep checking the comments to make sure we're all caught up and I'm answering any questions and providing any details you might be wondering about. So let's go ahead and get right into it now, as we have been getting some new details today on a really tragic situation out in Florence County. A crash has killed a Florence County Sheriff's deputy. We actually got this update yesterday evening right here on WMBF News, and then we started learning more about this young man today. So the sheriff's office says 24-year-old Nate Ansay was behind the wheel of his patrol car when that crash happened along Highway 301 near Effingham. Ansay had actually recently just marked 1 full year working as a deputy. He was on regular patrol yesterday afternoon when he was involved in a collision with another SUV. Today we've been hearing from some of his friends and colleagues who are remembering him as just a true people person who always had a smile on his face and a positive outlook, and someone who was able to fulfill a lifelong dream of becoming a deputy before his life was cut all too short. There's also been a steady stream of law enforcement personnel from departments across the area, including in Conway, sharing their condolences. And our Eric Richards today showed us Deputy Ansay's cruiser is now parked in front of the Florence County Sheriff's Office headquarters as a temporary memorial where folks are coming to pay tribute, to lay flowers, and just to take a moment to remember him. We're told funeral services are still pending, but we will update you as soon as those details are released. Of course, though, our thoughts are with all of his friends, family, and the law enforcement community, because these things are always so difficult. They never get easier, and of course, they will take a very long time for those folks to process and to cope with. So we are thinking of them. And then back here closer to home now, we've now learned the parent of a nonverbal child with autism in Horry County is suing the school district over alleged child abuse. So records show that parent filed a lawsuit on May 7th against Horry County Schools and Daisy Elementary School. That's in the Loris area. So it claims a former special education aide at Daisy Elementary School, identified as Richard Lohman, abused that child on April 9th when he reportedly grabbed that student and shook them before screaming in that child's face. Warrants show that child suffered 2 strained wrists. That lawsuit claims Horry County Schools, quote, failed to provide any intervention or care to the minor for the abusive actions on that day. It also states a witness reported the alleged abuse to, quote, the proper administrative employee at the school, but says that child was left in Lohman's care for the rest of the school day. A few days after that lawsuit was filed, Horry County Police arrested Lohman on 1 count of cruelty to children. The school district placed him on administrative leave on April 10th, and then he resigned a little over 2 weeks later on April 28th. We did reach out to Horry County Schools. It says it does not comment on pending litigation. That is a very normal response, and that is really kind of what we're used to in situations like this when there is a pending case or a lawsuit. But if you want more details about the situation and to read that lawsuit in its entirety, you can just look for this story on our website at WMBFnews.com. Right, I'm going to pop myself up now because, as always, we will have a couple mugshots for you with these next 2 stories here. So we do know a man is in jail tonight here in the Grand Strand, accused in a deadly hit and run earlier this week. So Myrtle Beach police arrested this man, 61-year-old John Stokes Jr., today, 2 days after they say he hit and killed a pedestrian who was walking along South Kings Highway near 9th Avenue South. That was early Monday morning. I know that officers were called out there right around 5:30 where they found that individual laying in the road. The name of the person killed has still not been released. Meanwhile, though, records show Stokes is being held at the Myrtle Beach jail without bond, charged with hit and run resulting in death. So we'll keep you posted on any new developments with that situation. I'm going to pop myself up here as I'm switching things over to our next mugshot because we have another arrest here. This time we know an Horry County road rage suspect was arrested after he allegedly lied to officers about who he was to avoid charges. So officers arrested this man. This is James Williams. That happened Sunday in connection to a road rage investigation back on January 2nd. So arrest warrants say Williams allegedly drove toward a group of children in the parking lot of an apartment complex before slamming on his brakes as two of those little girls jumped out of the way to avoid getting hit. Fortunately, no one was hurt, but police say Williams did damage one of the little girl's scooters. Even more heartbreakingly, I guess she had received it for Christmas. Documents show an officer actually did get in touch with Williams shortly after that incident, but as I said a moment ago, he gave them a fake name to avoid charges. But, of course, as I just said, authorities were able to track him down and charge him with 2 counts of first-degree assault and battery, giving false information to law enforcement, and damage to personal property. And records show he has since been released from jail on a $22,000 bond. Right, going to pop myself up here. And we're going to get to this story that our Ian Klein was on for us today. So this is something we have been covering for quite a while out in Marion County. So overcrowding, outdated facilities, that has been a huge issue for the Marion County Animal Shelter as it continues to fight for better conditions for their four-legged friends and also kind of working on an expansion. Today, though, it got some major help in its mission. So Chris Rotonda, who founded Jordan's Way, uses the power of social media to help shelters. There's a look at Chris right there. So he was able to raise nearly $5,000 in donations in just the first hour of a fundraiser that took place today via live stream. So Chris says he was inspired to help small town shelters like this one after adopting his own life-changing companion, Jordan, of course the namesake for Jordan's Way, who was a shelter pup that he adopted during a tough time in his own life. So today's fundraiser that he did right there at the shelter, as you can see, that's just a glimpse that Ian Klein got for us. In total or overall, so far it brought in around $8,000. And if you still want to pitch in, if you're a pet lover and you missed out on the live stream, but you're still wondering, how can I help? The link to donate will remain active for the next week, with all proceeds going directly to the Marion County Animal Shelter. And you can find that link and more information. It's all in this web story on WMBFnews.com. So if you feel compelled to help, you still have an opportunity. All right, let's talk about some good news for our friends in Carolina Forest. This is certainly good news that we have been waiting on now for a long time, over 80 days now. The South Carolina Forestry Commission says the wildfire that began nearly 3 months ago is now 100% contained. So this announcement comes 82 days after that fire first ignited back on March 1st and burned more than 2,000 acres of land. So this decision to declare the flames fully contained follows a number of heavy rain events here in Horry County over the last several weeks here, and that really just kind of helped raise the water tables and put out some of those hot spots, many of which were underground, which is really what made the whole thing so difficult for those fire crews to kind of keep this thing under, control or boost that containment level. So officials say those fire crews will still patrol and monitor the area as a precaution because, again, contained does not mean this thing is extinguished. That just means that, they're confident that it's not going to continue expanding and growing and getting bigger. But they are going to still monitor things there as a precaution until the fire is fully controlled. But again, that is still certainly some good news that we have been looking forward to there. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about the forecast. And no, we are not talking about more rain. We are talking about a beautiful rest of the week. I know a lot of folks are already getting excited for the long holiday weekend, if you are fortunate enough to have a nice long holiday weekend. So after the hottest temperatures of the year today, we are looking ahead to a bit of relief from both temperatures and humidity as we're rounding out the week, and of course look ahead to Memorial Day weekend. So as you're taking a look there at the Grand Strand 10-day forecast, just know we are expecting a bit of a cold front to move in tonight. That's going to drop us into the mid-60s inland. We're talking upper 60s near the beaches overnight tonight. Then we're going to have a more comfortable stretch of weather for the rest of the week. So we're going to have a nice warm afternoon tomorrow, mid to upper 80s, lower humidity though, and then we're going to cool down even more Friday. We're talking highs in the upper 70s to near 80 and plenty of sunshine. And then you're looking really nice there for both Saturday and Sunday. So if you were able to head out to the beach, the pool, Just get outside. We are looking good for that. We could have some scattered storms popping into the mix for Monday, Memorial Day, but at least for that nice stretch there, Thursday into Sunday, you are all clear to just go out and enjoy it. All right, let's go ahead and talk about what we are following for you new at 11, starting with this one. A man we've learned is fighting for his life tonight after a shooting above the state line. So I don't have video or anything for these next two, so I'm just going to tell you what we know. The Robeson County Sheriff's Office tells us paramedics took that victim to the hospital in, quote, critical condition after deputies found him shot a little before 5 this evening along Rice Road in Lumberton. Deputies have yet to release any additional information about the situation beyond that, but in the meantime, they are asking anyone with relevant information about the shooting to reach out to the sheriff's office right away. Also new at 11, 2 people are hurt after a vehicle crashed into a building in Georgetown. So the city's fire department tells us this happened just before 3 this afternoon when a pickup truck slammed through the front of a vacant business on High Market Street. At this point, there's still no word on if the 2 people hurt in that crash were inside that pickup at the time or if they were outside that vehicle. Of course, once we get any new updates, we will keep you updated on air and online just as soon as that information comes in. And we are still asking those questions and looking for those details. So we will keep you posted on that. But for now, that'll do it for this update from the WMBF First Alert Desk. We hope you'll join us back on air tonight in just a little bit for WMBF News at 11.